Welcome back to Crit and Crit. I'm Axion,
I'm Scint.
and we are returning to La-Mulana as we discuss 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
I'm just waiting for all the creative ways you're going to die.
Well, I haven't died yet.
And thus, fate has been paged.
I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to die either of something really stupid and unexpected or at the next boss. Because I usually have trouble with the next boss.
So say we all.
And while the game will take a little while to introduce you to the characters of the next chapter, for lack of a better word, we are here to discuss the different characters within 20,000 Leagues.
All four of them.
I was about to say, which has a relatively small cast.
Yeah, it's really weird, and considering they go out of their way to mention, here's the size of the crew, here are the people who were on the Abraham Lincoln with us, etc., etc. There are only 4 characters of actual real relevance to the plot, and, well...
None of those above mentions are any of them.
Yep.
Those are just, essentially, random people.
They're here to facilitate the adventure to happen. That's it.
Yep. But once the adventure starts, they cease to be relevant.
Yep.
The only characters from that section that remain relevant are the ones that end up on the Nautilus. Aranax, our narrator. Conseil, his servant. And Ned Land, the hunter. With them, combined with Captain Nemo himself, is the entire relevant cast of 20,000 Leagues. And we gave a very, very basic look at those characters in the summary of the story. But in this episode, we're going to go into them more in depth.
Such as we can, as the case may be.
Yeah, with what information we have available.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest, I don't really think that the characters are that complex for this book. Like, when it comes to action-adventure, often you just need your basic archetypal personalities to forward the plot. And, well, I think that's kind of what we're working with here.
I should have guessed that since it was a different color.
Did somebody spike the ruins?
But
yeah. So, we might as well start with Aranax, because, well, we get the entire story from his perspective, so we get the most information about personality from him. That was close.
Yep. Welcome to La-Mulana, where the entire game hates you and everything is a trap.
Where the lore's made up and the floors don't matter. So Professor Pierre Aranax is a French marine biologist. He happens to be in the United States doing some studying while the whole there's this immense sea creature rumor goes down, and is talked into going on the expedition for the sake of great scientific achievement. And, well, yeah, basically that's about it. He's a very knowledgeable man when it comes to all things marine biology. He is a proud Frenchman, and he's excited to be on an adventure.
Aranax is extremely well learned. He is familiar with almost all of the extremely complicated subjects that get discussed throughout the book. And even the stuff he is not an expert in, or that it's outside his field, he is still aware of.
Which, oddly, this is going to sound a little out of nowhere, is an improvement on Sherlock Holmes, who, in at least one book, is stated to not actually realize that we live in a geocentric universe because it's not relevant to his detective work. So I'm going to promptly forget that you told me that, Watson. I need room in my brain to know important things. I don't remember which story that was, but
I don't either, but yeah,
I have never forgotten that.
He dedicates large chunks of his attention and understanding to the information that is relevant to his job, to the point where he does not want to risk losing brain space for the stuff that he actually does for a living or for entertainment.
It's also weird for this purposes of that. I believe he's also described as being fairly, fashionable, meaning he allows brain space to be devoted to keeping up with the latest fashions. Which, I'm not going to get into the whole Dear Starkle thing here, because, different book and not relevant at all, so, self-demonstrating discussion, I guess. Yeah, he's a pleasant enough person to be around. He doesn't seem to be confrontational, especially when it comes to with Captain Nemo. He will rather avoid picking a fight at all costs. Quick to try and calm Ned Land down, though whether that's because he doesn't like fighting or because he doesn't want to get kicked off of the submarine is kind of hard to say. But of the three surfacers, for lack of a better way to put this, he's the only one who's not actively looking for a way to get back to civilization. Ned and Conseil would very much like to go home. Professor Aronnax is like, but fish.
I was about to say, but fish.
Yeah, he is a well-published scholar. Captain Nemo, as we'd mentioned during our plot discussion, has heard of him and even has his book on the Nautilus. Even though, given that Nemo has lived underwater for years, he's been able to disprove a lot of what Aronnax has written, and Aronnax is a little happy at being disproven because now he gets to study more things. So yeah, he's very much just, I am here for adventure and for science, and this is the best field trip ever, and why are you guys upset? Don't you think this is really, really cool? Yeah, perhaps a little bit nationalistic arrogance with him, given how he describes Conseil as, well, those Belgians, and I'm like, no, I am an American in the 21st century, no, I don't really know the Belgian stereotypes. Like, the closest I've come is having read a bit of Poirot. And there's Spike. So yeah, I know I'm not quite sure what he's implying with how they are.
I have not taken the time to do any kind of research on that myself. I probably should have.
I don't know. Do we really want our NSA agent to know that we've been looking up old-timey national stereotypes? I mean, it wouldn't be the weirdest thing in my Google history, but we're not getting into that.
You might also argue that the professor is a little naive, in the sense that he doesn't seem to have a lot of experience with how the world works in practice, just a lot of textbook knowledge, and he's very good with theory.
I would agree with that. Which actually is a good segue to Conseil, who is much more practical. Like, when the professor falls in the ocean, Conseil goes in after him to keep him alive. So, you could either read that as Aronnax does, which is to say, with complete selfless devotion, or, just a cynical look of extreme job security. if the nice professor dies, who else will pay me to do whatever I need to do? The professor does note that Conseil is good at memorizing taxonomy, but not good at classifying himself. So, like, once you tell him this is the family this thing belongs to, he can recite the rest of the classification fairly easily. But he doesn't always grasp the implications of that until it's spelled out. But, well, I don't imagine Conseil actually went to school to study this he died stuff. Like I said, you tempted fate. You said you hadn't died yet, and fate was like, bet.
Welcome to La-Mulana.
But yeah, I don't think Conseil actually went to school to be a marine biologist like Aronnax did, so everything he's learned has probably been from just having to keep up with this crazy academic.
Yeah. I don't remember ever getting an explanation of why Conseil is so absolutely devoted to Aronnax.
You might say there's something fishy about it. Ayo!
Boo. That was bad even for you.
Well, there's no need to carp about it. I see you are floundering to change the conversation.
Anyway, do you know an answer, or does the book not say?
I don't recall. I do know that, like, there was a trend of a lot of stories at the time. A lot of Verne works, really, because I remember there was similar with Passepartout in Around the World in 80 Days being similarly devoted to fog. So it might just be an authorial quirk. It might have been something to do with the era, which I don't know how accurate that was to true life. I'm not sure there are that many people who are just like, yes, I will die for the person who has me starch their shirts. Okay, whatever, you do you. But yeah, Conseil seems like a nice enough guy. Average intelligence. I don't want to call him dumb, but he's not an academic like Aronnax. He also wants to return to the surface, but he doesn't want to leave the professor. Whether that's because he's extremely devoted to him or just, doesn't think the professor's going to survive too long without him, we don't really know. I know Aronnax very much takes the impression that he's devoted to him, and some of the dialogue does definitely lean that way, but I'm not sure how sincere it is. Though, I think for the case of, like, Verne just wanted to write about a cool submarine, I don't think there's too much to read into that there. I think he just needed to make sure that we had another person to bounce ideas off of and be a mediator between Aronnax and Ned. And sometimes you do have characters who just exist to serve a function in the story.
Right.
But yeah, Conseil's function is to keep Aronnax alive and long enough to get on the Nautilus, and then to kind of stop Ned from doing stupid things. Speaking of Ned...
That's it. Maybe it's time to talk about Ned. Ned Land is a Canadian whale hunter, harpooner, and generally sailor.
Okay, not full carnivore, but he is the one who first objects to, what do you mean we only have fish to eat? I want meat. And the last book we read talking about wanting meat desperately ended pretty badly, so thankfully we're dealing with adults and not kids here.
Having some flashbacks.
It's fine.
Are you sure?
Look, let's just say that the time really flies.
Boo.
But yeah, Ned is brought along on the expedition because they think it's a giant narwhal. And he is going to kill the hell out of that giant narwhal because he is a good hunter and he's going to flex on it. And everyone else is just kind of like, yeah, we'd just like it to stop attacking ships. And the professor's like, and then we can study it! So he is the first to discover that, yeah, no, it's not a fish, it's made of metal, because he's the first one to get on the Nautilus when it's kind of riding at the surface. So, yeah, he's disappointed because, like, well, I mean, on the one hand, it makes me feel better because now I completely understand why I wasn't able to stab it. Thought for a second I was weak. What you doing?
Trying to heal. Without having to leave.
Hey, good luck with that.
I need just one more green orb.
Well, let's contemplate your orb then.
safe. Aha! Nope. I feel disappointed.
2 more green orb. I'm gonna be honest, this has that Bugs Bunny 1 bullet left energy.
I don't know what that's a reference to, sorry.
They were doing the whole like duck season, wabbit season thing, and then Elmer's out of ammo, and then Daffy looks at it and then it goes off. Oh, looks like there was 1 bullet left. Did you hear that? There was 1 bullet left. Yeah, the usual.
Makes sense. Okay, so Ned Land.
Though for most of the book, it's more like Ned C.
Boo.
Much to his eternal irritation. Like, the instant they get on the Nautilus, Nemo informs them in no uncertain terms that they are his political prisoners because y'all tried to kill me. So, I'm being extremely generous by keeping you alive. You're not leaving the boat, because you can tell people I'm alive, and we can't have that. So much for healing. But, yeah, Ned is violent, confrontational, very much a you're not my real dad, you don't tell me what to do type of person, and spends the entirety of his time on the Nautilus plotting their escape. It takes a while.
Extremely grumpy.
Yep. He cheers up a little bit when they are permitted to go to an mostly uninhabited island. Well, uncivilized island is more accurate, so there's no one here who can report on Nemo to anyone who could actually come and hunt him down. But there are natives on the island, which has its own stuff to talk about later. But they're allowed to go up there, hunt some boars, more Lord of the Flies flashbacks, and Ned is calm for a little bit because he's gotten some meat. So, yeah. But yeah, half the book is just the professor worrying that Ned's going to do something stupid or fight Captain Nemo and trying to keep the two apart while he can continue his studies and stuff, and, you know, everything to do with it, with that. Hello, ghosts. So, yeah, despite being, as I've said, rather violent and abrasive, Ned's still depicted as a pretty darn good person. Like, he's not going to abandon the other two. He's going to make sure they stay alive as well. He is willing to listen to people talking about, you know, why they don't like his hunting, but he's like, no, I'm still going to hunt. You still need me for this kind of stuff. But, yeah, so that's Ned. Anything else?
Ned is the pragmatist of the group. While Conseil is practical, Ned is pragmatic. Ned is willing to do whatever it takes, whatever he thinks will work, and doesn't really have a whole lot of scruples about how it's handled.
It's kind of interesting, because, like, with the three of them, you can, in either case, you can read Conseil as the ego mediating between them. But which is the id and which is the superior ego kind of depends. Because on the one hand, Ned will absolutely go fight you so he can get off this stupid boat, which would make him the id in that regard. But on the other hand,
let's not do that.
Yeah, let's not do that. But on the other hand, the professor is the one willing to throw away his entire life to look at fish for a while longer. And Ned's like, dude, no. Which, in that case, would make him the restrained one. So,
But
I think
he's like trading back and forth depending on the situation.
Yeah, I think you could make the case for either one of them playing the role of the id and the superego. It's just interesting to me, because, like, they have that clear push and pull dynamic, with Conseil having to mediate no matter who's taking which role. But, in most stories, you'd see that as being relatively constant.
Yep, there's in almost all stories where this is a situation that comes up, you almost always have one person who's the intellectual who handles everything quietly and reasonably, and then one person that is the ego-driven, impulsive, hostile one. I clearly don't have it set right. You'd think with the big ghost dead, the little ghost would stop showing up, but nope. On the other hand, big ghost dead is kind of an oxymoron. Or maybe a tautology?
I don't know. I'd say ghost dead is more redundancy, but...
That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah. So with those three out of the way, that brings us to the one we know the least about, but want to know the most about. Captain Nemo.
So Captain Nemo is an enigmatic figure who lives his entire life within the confines of the Nautilus. He has severed himself from civilization on land, divorced himself and his crew of reliance on any part of dry land, society, and culture. They have no need of the resources. They have no need of the culture and society. They have no need of pretty much anything from the surface world any longer, as we said in the summary, except for air. They come to the surface of the ocean once a day to restock the Nautilus's stores of fresh air, and presumably to release the carbon dioxide and other byproduct gases that were building up within the submarine up into the open air where it won't be harmful. Nemo takes all of his food from the depths of the ocean, mostly subsisting on ocean plant life such as kelp and on various kinds of fish.
Nemo is that one friend of yours who always threatens to go off the grid, but he actually does it.
Yeah. And this was not a random split-second decision on his part.
Well, I mean, no. Who can randomly do a split-second decision that involves, you know what, I think I might casually build a giant submarine the size of a motel?
Oh, you know Elon Musk would do it if he thought he could. And if he didn't, thrive off of the constant attention of his fans.
Now, Elon Musk would buy out a company that was doing it and say he did it.
Exactly. But he thrives on social attention, so he wouldn't do it in the first place. Alright, now I won't die when this guy does his thing. What was I coming over here for? Other than to bring that statue down. But the stupid ghosts, go away. Anyway. Nemo is described as nearly unidentifiable by Aronnax. That he has no discernible accent, even when speaking languages other than French. Or the unknown language of the crew. His complexion is such that he could be from any number of places. suggesting that he either has a particularly pale type of darker skin tone or a particularly heavily tanned version of a lighter skin tone. It's deliberately kept very vague. There's next to... That's what I was looking for. There's next to no identifying details about him. I don't even really think Aranax gives much of a description of what he looks like just in general.
I recall he did. I'd have to go find it real quick.
Okay, why don't you do that right quick while I'm continuing my summary. Nemo is a man who associates very heavily with the downtrodden, with the underclass, with the people who do not have power.
Google, this is not helpful. Nemo is a small clownfish with bright orange and white scales.
Wrong, Nemo.
I know!
Oh, I'm not yelling at you, I'm yelling at Google. Okay, that made the Anka pair. But I don't have the jewel yet. Anyway, Nemo associates himself very strongly with the oppressed peoples of the world, with the underclass, with those who do not have social or economic or societal power. He, as Scint mentioned in last episode, he identifies strongly with the indentured pearl diver, and after rescuing him from the shark, informs Aranax that the
Found it.
Go ahead then, because I'm...
No, finish your sentence first, but...
he informs Aranax that he considers the, I can't remember the words now that he used. But the suffering and the underclass person are his countrymen.
Right. Ready?
Go ahead.
The second stranger merits a more detailed description. A disciple of Gratiolet or Engel would have read his face like an open book, and made out his prevailing qualities directly. Self-confidence because his head was well set on his shoulders, and his black eyes looked around with cold assurance. Calmness, for his skin, rather pale, showed his coolness of blood. Energy, evinced by the rapid contraction of his lofty brows, and courage, because his deep breathing denoted great power of lungs. Whether this person was 35 or 50 years of age, I could not say. He was tall, had a large forehead, straight nose, a clearly cut mouth, beautiful teeth with fine taper hands, indicative of a highly nervous temperament. This man was certainly the most admirable specimen I had ever met. One particular feature was that his eyes, rather far from each other, and which could take in nearly a quarter of the horizon at once. This faculty, I verified it later, gave him a range of vision far superior to Ned Land's. When this stranger fixed upon an object, his eyebrows met, his large eyelids closed around as to contract the range of his vision, and he looked as if he magnified the objects lessened by distance, as if he pierced those sheets of water so opaque to our eyes, and as if he read the very depths of the seas.
Okay, so he is described as pale-skinned.
Yep.
So, not quite as vague as I had originally remembered. That's on
I mean, that's about it. Then he just basically says they're wearing, like, otter skin hats and sealskin boots and stuff. Like,
right.
Everything they own is from the sea. Everything. And yes, as mentioned, Nemo does consider himself like a champion of the oppressed. We don't really... He never tells us why. We get implication that he is fleeing some sort of tyrannical government just from the way he talks about things. And, well, given the era, and I believe it is confirmed in the Mysterious Island, he's Indian. So, let's be fair, he could be from basically anywhere in the world, and we could assume that he has a beef with England. Because colonization.
Which, if that is the case, is likely the nationality of the ship that he sinks in the later part of the book. Because he is quite overt in his dissatisfaction with whatever country produced that ship, and he is very happy to send it and its crew to their doom.
Yep, just matter-of-factly, like, are you going to attack that ship? Monsieur, I am going to sink it. Go to your quarters. But go to your room.
Go to your room.
Yeah, basically.
But
yeah.
He is also that kind of person. He is distinctly focused, very dedicated to whatever cause he is pursuing, to the point that he's severed himself from all of society. And
yep, it's...
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because, like, let's be honest, the type of person who is completely convinced that they can justify all of their actions is usually not the type of person you want to be in a position where they have actions to justify. And Nemo kind of proves the dangers of vigilantism. Like, he becomes a specter feared internationally as this horrific sea beast sinking ships. Like, he doesn't go out of his way to, usually, but until he does. And yeah, this starts that international hunt for the whale. This great narwhal that everyone's looking for. And then he keeps sinking ships. Rarely, but it still happens, and people tend to react to that kind of thing. So it's kind of a self-perpetuating thing of he doesn't want people to track him, but he invites it with, provoking people. There's wanting to step aside from the chains of societal expectations, and then there's, I just don't want to have to follow the laws. So it's kind of hard to say if Nemo is justified.
On the other hand, there is an argument to be made that when society reaches a certain point of abuse and harm to its citizens, that more direct action is warranted, and that in many cases that means actively breaking the law and doing harm to, whether that be to the people you believe are responsible, or to things like doing damage to property and to where have I not explored?
Most of the ruins.
Where in here have I not explored?
Oh, fair point.
I don't have the map software. But yeah, you can put the same argument on Nemo as you could put on people like the French Revolution. On the one hand, he's sinking ships, killing people, robbing left and right from anything that's been sunk into the water he claims is his. On the other hand, if he's telling the truth about the things that he's suffered and the experiences he's gone through,
which he's never actually outlined to anyone. He just says he belongs to no country. We only know that he's lost people because Aronnax happens to see him sobbing in front of a portrait after he sinks that ship.
Mm-hmm. And while we can make implications from that, and it's clear that Aronnax does, there is no direct confirmation.
Yep. So Nemo feels justified in his actions, but he also does not feel the need to actually justify them. Like,
Yep,
the crew knows why I'm here. You're a prisoner. You don't need to know.
He considers himself above the judgment of his prisoners.
Yep. But, again, the French Revolution is an interesting counterpoint because this is where we have to bring up, well, is it justifiable to attack innocents who just happen to be in the way, i.e., like, the rank-and-file sailors who are, just on the boat, wrong place, wrong time, probably never had anything to do with Nemo? Or are they guilty of tacitly supporting an abusive system that led to whatever Nemo was suffering?
And we are not the first to tackle this particular subject, and definitely will not be the last. And we are certainly no experts on the subject. We're just a couple of goofballs on the internet who read books and play video games.
Again, it's just a character interpretation choice. Like, Verne does not tell us should we like Captain Nemo. We know that Aronnax clearly does up until, he sinks a ship right in front of him. But Aronnax still very greatly respects Nemo. So, the author doesn't judge. I don't know if we are meant to or not. People probably will because it's human nature, like, first impressions are a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say, there are days I have definitely thought about, I would love to cut ties with society and just go not be bothered. But I do not have access to a Nautilus to make that happen, so more's the pity.
That, and we spend way too much time on the internet to go turn into a fairy witch in the forest.
Oh, come on, the Wi-Fi's really good out there if you make the right pact. I'm sorry, you're trading your soul for Wi-Fi? We need modern demons.
Where's Crowley? Get Crowley on the phone.
But yeah, I'm not really sure what else to say about the characters right now without getting into other things that we had listed for later.
I was about to say, I'm not sure there's much more to say just on the summarization of the characters as they go in the story. So I think this is probably a good enough place to stop for this one.
Alrighty, until next.
See y'all then.